Espresso. It is the foundation of almost every coffee drink you will ever encounter. A small amount of very hot water is forced under high pressure through finely ground coffee beans, producing a concentrated shot of dark, rich liquid. It originated in Italy in the early 20th century and was designed to be consumed quickly, which is exactly what most Italians do. The flavor is bold and slightly bitter with a thin layer of golden foam on top called crema. Everything else on this list either starts with espresso or was created as an alternative to it. Americano. This drink was born during World War II when American soldiers stationed in Italy found straight espresso too intense for their taste. They began diluting it with hot water to resemble the drip coffee they were used to back home. The result is a longer, milder drink that still carries the depth of espresso but without the concentrated punch. It looks similar to regular black coffee but has a distinctly different flavor profile underneath. Cappuccino. It is one of the most recognized coffee drinks in the world and has very specific proportions that traditional coffee culture takes seriously. A cappuccino is made with 1 shot of espresso, an equal amount of steamed milk, and then a thick layer of milk foam on top. The 3 layers are roughly equal in volume. The name comes from the Capuchin friars of Italy, whose brown robes resembled the color of the drink. It is usually consumed in the morning and is considered too heavy to drink after midday in Italian tradition. Latte. A latte uses the same base as a cappuccino but shifts the balance heavily toward milk. It contains 1 or 2 shots of espresso topped with a large amount of steamed milk and only a thin layer of foam. The result is a creamier, gentler drink that is much softer on the palate. It became widely popular in the United States during the coffee shop boom of the 1990s and is now one of the best-selling espresso drinks globally. Flavored syrups like vanilla or caramel are commonly added to it. Flat white. It originated in Australia and New Zealand and sits somewhere between a cappuccino and a latte in terms of strength. It uses a double shot of espresso with a smaller amount of steamed milk than a latte and almost no foam at all. The milk is textured very finely so it blends smoothly with the espresso rather than sitting on top of it. The drink is smaller in volume but noticeably stronger and more coffee-forward than a latte. It became popular worldwide after major coffee chains added it to their menus in the 2010s. Macchiato. The word macchiato means stained or marked in Italian, which describes exactly how the drink is made. A traditional espresso macchiato is simply a shot of espresso with a small dollop of foamed milk placed on top, just enough to soften the edge of the espresso slightly. It is a small, punchy drink meant for people who want something close to a straight espresso, but with a hint of dairy. There is also a latte macchiato, which reverses the ratio entirely by staining a glass of steamed milk with a shot of espresso poured through it. Mocha. A mocha takes the latte format and adds chocolate into the equation. It is made with espresso, steamed milk, and chocolate syrup or melted chocolate blended together, usually topped with whipped cream. The drink bridges the gap between coffee and hot chocolate, making it a popular choice for people who enjoy both. It is widely consumed as a dessert-style beverage and is especially popular among younger coffee drinkers who are just beginning to explore espresso-based drinks. Cold brew. Cold brew is made by steeping coarsely ground coffee in cold or room temperature water for an extended period, usually between 12 and 24 hours. No heat is involved at any stage of the process. The result is a smooth, low-acid concentrate that is naturally sweeter and less bitter than hot coffee. It became a mainstream product in the 2010s and is now sold in bottles and cans worldwide. Because it takes so long to prepare, it is often made in large batches and stored in the refrigerator for several days. Iced latte. An iced latte is exactly what the name suggests, a latte served over ice rather than hot. It is made with 1 or 2 shots of espresso poured over a glass filled with ice and then topped with cold milk. It is not the same as cold brew because the espresso is still brewed hot before being chilled by the ice. The contrast between the hot espresso and cold milk creates a slightly different flavor than drinking the same drink warm. It is one of the most popular coffee orders during warmer months. Drip coffee. Drip coffee is the most commonly consumed style of coffee in the United States and many parts of the world. Hot water passes slowly through a filter containing medium ground coffee, and the brewed liquid drips down into a pot or cup below. It produces a lighter, cleaner cup compared to espresso because the brewing process is slower and the pressure involved is minimal. It is the coffee most associated with home brewing and office kitchens. Despite being considered simple, the quality of drip coffee varies enormously depending on the beans used and the brewing equipment. French press. French press coffee is made by steeping coarsely ground coffee directly in hot water inside a cylindrical glass or metal container and then pressing a metal mesh plunger down to separate the grounds from the liquid. The coffee is never filtered through paper, which means natural oils from the beans remain in the cup. This gives French press coffee a fuller, richer body than drip coffee. It's a manual brewing method that requires no electricity and has been popular in European households for decades. Pour-over. Pour-over is a manual brewing method where hot water is poured slowly and deliberately over coffee grounds held in a filter above a cup or carafe. The brewer controls the speed and pattern of the pour, which directly affects the flavor of the final cup. It requires more attention and skill than drip coffee, but rewards the effort with a very clean and nuanced result. Specialty coffee enthusiasts favor this method because it highlights the individual characteristics of high-quality single-origin beans. Turkish coffee. Turkish coffee is one of the oldest coffee preparation methods still widely practiced today. Very finely ground coffee is combined with cold water and sugar directly in a small long-handled pot called a kezve, which is then heated slowly until the mixture foams and rises. It's poured directly into a small cup without filtering, so a layer of fine grounds settles at the bottom. The drink is strong, thick, and intensely aromatic. It remains a central part of social culture across Turkey, the Middle East, and parts of Eastern Europe and Africa. Vietnamese iced coffee. Vietnamese iced coffee uses a dark Robusta coffee blend brewed through a small metal drip filter called a fin, which sits directly on top of a glass. The brewing process is slow and produces a strong, concentrated liquid that drips down over a layer of sweetened condensed milk waiting at the bottom. Once brewing is complete, the two layers are stirred together and poured over ice. The combination of bitter coffee and sweet condensed milk creates a deeply satisfying contrast that has made this drink internationally beloved. Nitro cold brew. Nitro cold brew starts as regular cold brew concentrate and then infused with nitrogen gas, similar to how certain beers are carbonated. The nitrogen creates a creamy, velvety texture and a thick foam head that sits on top of the drink when poured from a tap. No milk or sugar is typically added because the nitrogen itself gives the beverage a naturally smooth and slightly sweet character. It became widely available in coffee shops and canned formats during the mid-2010s and now became one of the best-selling espresso drinks globally.